To kickstart the event, who better to have as our first keynote speaker, Ms. Debjani Ghosh, in conversation with Anuranjita, and their topic of discussion is Skilling to Scale. Debjani is the president of NASSCOM since April 2018, a veteran of the technology industry. She is the fifth president of NASSCOM and the first woman at the helm. She is being listed in the 100 most influential women in UK-India relations, celebrating women.
Thank you, Debjani, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you. I mean, I've heard you on different topics at different points of time, but every time I hear you, I want to hear more. So I think, today, November 27th, is a big day for us because we would be showcasing close to 2,000 roles for aspiring tech leaders, as I would say, who take a lot of inspiration from you. I think in some ways you've shown the way of being a CEO with a big company and now heading one of the biggest tech organizations in the country. So I think a role model and what you tell them and your advice would be super helpful as they appear for a lot of processes and interviews today. So with that, I think, I would move to the first question. As we were curating this career fair, one of the things was, the pandemic has had various impacts and, employment of men and women both. But we are seeing some signs of recovery, and one of them is evident in the kind of interest that we've had on 2021 hiring. But what do you see in the crystal ball in the coming year?
So first of all, Anu, I think it's great to be here. Always great to talk to you. I just want to congratulate you and the team for pulling together this career fair for women in tech. I think it's such a fantastic idea, and it's such a big need of the hour. The tech industry is looking out for talent, and we are so hungry for talent right now. And I absolutely believe that women, as long as they are able to focus on skill development in the right way, will be the talent that the industry needs going forward. So I'm really glad that you're sort of bringing the demand and the supply together. And I'm even happier to hear that you're getting a lot of interest from both companies and from women. So that makes my day. That's absolutely fabulous. What has the pandemic done? I think the pandemic has done quite a few things at several levels, right? Let's start with one. I think the pandemic has made us realize that the industry playbook has to be completely disrupted. We had a very successful formula as the tech industry. We knew what worked, we knew what didn't work, and it was growing very well. It was, $191 billion industry, growing at a very healthy rate. I mean, we had everything going for us. I think with the pandemic, the first thing it did is it made us realize that the old playbook is not going to work in the new world. We have the option of deciding if we want to act today in a way that will shape the new world or not. Or are we going to wait for someone else to do that and create the new world for us, right? So I think that was the option given to the industry, that do we take charge or do we wait? And we decided, no, we have to take charge. We have to take charge and create the new normal. And I think as we create the new normal, there are a few things that becomes extremely important for success, both for individuals and for companies. And it's not a gender thing. I think this applies to everyone. But I think women, if they can understand and if they can work on these aspects, it's what's going to create the preference, or it's what's going to create higher employability, right? I think the first thing in today's world is trust. How trustworthy are you? Whether you're a company, whether you're an individual, that's the first question you have to answer. And I will talk of it from the point of view of an individual. When we are hiring today, one of the first things we do is go and check out the person's social media presence, right? It's such an excellent window into how the person thinks. And this is where one has to be very, especially youngsters, when they are on social media, they're not just there for fun. They are leaving their footprint behind, which can never be erased, and they are actually building their online CV, which is so much more valuable than the paper CV that they will send to us. None of us frankly look at that paper CV beyond 5 minutes, right? And trust has a lot to do with it. How are you, do you come across as a trustworthy person in a hyper digital, largely contactless world? Trust is all we have. So it becomes an extra. I mean, how do you build trust is a key question that one has to grapple with. Do you have the right skills is next. Talent is super important. And yes, there will be a job for you if you have skilled yourself, if you have the right skills. And right skills is not just technology, it's technology meets design thinking, it's technology meets problem solving, it's technology means the ability to continue to learn, it's technology meets, the creative thinking. All of this, we are in the age of bilinguals, or rather trilinguals, because added to all of this, domain expertise helps too. So are you doing enough to skill yourself is the second question. Third is your ability to problem solve or innovate. And it's no more about how brilliantly you can use technology. It's all about how big a problem can you solve with the use of technology. And I think that perspective, your ability to project that becomes very important. And last but not the least, a sense of urgency, a sense of hunger, a sense of passion. Um, these are all the little things that have to come together to create that perfect talent that we want. So is the pandemic creating jobs? Absolutely it is. Are we finding the right people to hire? No, we are not. And these are the gaps. These are the areas one has to work on to build employability. Sorry for the long answer, but this was an important one.
No, it's fabulous. I think there's just so much there. And as I was hearing you and about the pandemic and is it creating opportunities? Of course it is, as you rightly said. What we are seeing as far as women talent is concerned are two categories of talent groups, if I may say, emerging. One is looking for a job. There is a financial pressure. So I need a job and I need it as of yesterday because my family needs it. And so anything which is coming their way is being grabbed. Then there are women who are looking for a career, who are thinking through about, is this the right opportunity for me? And how does this weave into the long term? In our recent research, what we found is a lot more women reactively jumping to jobs, and which is how this career fair came about. And we carried out a lot of skilling and mentoring and counseling sessions, because sometimes wrong choices can lead to an outcome which is not desirable. Any advice you would give to women who are in that sense of urgency to just look for a job rather than wait for the right option to come by?
Yeah, no, it's a very personal decision, right? Because we don't know what are the drivers, what is creating that urgency. I mean, if someone has to pay the rent, or someone has to, needs that job in order to pay the rent or feed the family, you don't have too many options in hand to say this is what I want or this is what I don't want, unfortunately. And I think in these situations, I would absolutely encourage them to go out and find a job, because once that financial concern is taken care of, then you can start thinking about other things, right? So it's a very difficult world, and especially the pandemic has just increased the challenges exponentially. So it's difficult to sit and lecture saying no, wait for the perfect job. I would never say that. It all depends on your urgency. If you need to get a job in order to put the meals on the table, please do get that job, right? I mean, get the job and then figure out what is needed once you have the financial stability. And if you have the financial stability and you want to throw yourself into the career, then you have a little bit of choice. Then you have that opportunity to say, how do I evaluate something that makes sense for me or not? And for me, whenever I have changed jobs, I mean, I was 21 years with one company, but I changed tons of jobs in those 21 years within the same company. In fact, I never did anything more than, say, maybe 3, or I think the max was 5, which was the last job I did in that company, which was heading India. When for me, it was all about one, am I doing this job better than anyone else? I mean, am I the best? Okay. And second is the job of giving me the opportunity to learn and meet my goals? Because if it's not, I don't want to do it, right? Then you get into a routine and you don't want to get there. So these are some of the campuses you look at. But see, for someone starting out, there's no way they will know whether it's the perfect job or not. And I hate it when people tell them, wait for the perfect job. How the hell do they know it's the perfect job? They have to be at it. I mean, I discovered my passion and all after maybe 5-6 years of working, right? Thankfully, I joined a company where I was able to explore and find something. But I would just say that if you're starting off, the first few years is a free pass, get out of jail free card that's given to you, to experiment, to see what works, to see what doesn't work. And if things don't work, change, look for the right changes, whether in the same company or whatever. But the first few years is about figuring yourself out.
Perfect.
But then again, if you have financial concerns, if you have to pay for your rent or whatever, these can happen later.
Sure. No, I think that's very well put. The other two words I picked up from your first answer was around trust and skill. Bringing about the sense of trust with others, and also trusting yourself, or taking a bit of a risk on yourself, because if you don't, then who else will? Particular to skilling, and I think you and I have spoken about this before, that we're seeing a lot of women now taking up skilling, and in fact, we are going to be leveraging the NASSCOM Future Skills platform as well for the community, which is joining us today. The data is, at least from our portal, is suggesting that a lot of women are enrolling into specific courses around digital marketing or fintech. Again, it's choice, it's personal, we're trying to figure out how we can encourage more women to join more high-tech courses, given the demand we are getting from the clients is largely around things like, as I said, data science, data engineering, full stack. But we find proportionately less women doing those courses. Now, we are kind of investigating this and we're researching this to encourage them. But anything that you would advise us as a WiT platform to do differently and to reach out to women differently?
I think the first thing, since you've developed such an excellent platform, the first thing when a woman logs onto your platform should be able to see is where are the jobs.
Okay.
Because if you don't see that, you're not going to know how drastically the job landscape is changing. I think the first thing I would love to see whenever I get onto any kind of a skilling platform or anything is, how is the job landscape changing? Where is the demand? Right? Where are you seeing the most jobs? Where is the pay high? And there's enough data to show you that the demand and in fact, NASSCOM just came out with a remuneration report. You should share that with your community, which clearly shows that even in the pandemic, where rises, etc., were very limited, increments, etc., were very, very limited, people were willing to pay up to 20 to 30% higher for jobs in data science and other these kind of deep tech places. So it's very important to create the awareness that digital marketing was a fad, and it was paying well, and there were enough jobs there a few years back. That has changed. Right. So it's very important for people to understand what these changes are. And ultimately, people will start skilling for jobs that exist. So that's the gap we have to bridge, that awareness gap.
Sure. So just moving on from women to organizations, as I'm sure, we've learned through NASSCOM data that actually the number of women who are opting for STEM has been increasing over the years. And the number of women who are actually entering the workforce is also increasing over the years. when I talk to a lot of STEM organizations, the usual stat which is quoted to me, the number of women they have is about 30%. But when we unpeel the onion, what we find is they're largely at junior levels. And even in tech, they are largely in infra roles, or, as we were discussing, not the mainline roles, which are more remunerative. So we're starting to work with the organizations about how to staff them. Because if you start with a staff role, you're not going to make it to the corner office necessarily. And, she will take a career journey slightly differently. But from an organization perspective, we find clients who are kind of having a general management program. We find clients who are placing them into specific roles. And apart from the traditional issues of marriage, maternity, mobility, specific to STEM, we find that when women take career breaks, they find it difficult to come back because of outdated skills. So as much as NASSCOM is doing a lot and platforms like us are doing a lot, what would be your advice for the organizations and how they can step up their efforts?
It's both organizations and the individual. When you take a break, there is nothing stopping you from continuing to learn. It's as simple as that. It's about finding out a small percentage of time. See, this fundamentally goes back to one thing and just one thing. Today, organizations want people who are continuous learners.
Right.
Irrespective of whether they're on a break, irrespective of anything else, right? And if you're not, and if you take a break in your learning, you can take a break in your career, but do not take a break in your learning. Because if you take a break in your learning, yes, you are going to be outdated, and there's no organization out there that can do anything about it. Let's be very clear, right? What my advice always is to both organizations and to individuals is learning can never stop. Doesn't matter which stage in your life you're in, but learning can never stop. And you have to, I mean, even if you're, in bed for 3 weeks or whatever, you can read a book. It'll at least keep you occupied, and learning doesn't have to be sitting and doing this. Learning can be, you can learn any which way. You can learn from podcasts, right? There are enough opportunities out there to ensure that learning continues. And I think as an individual, the biggest skill that we have to have and demonstrate is that we know how to learn and unlearn continuously. And organizations have to build the capabilities so people, even when they're going on break, can stay connected, can learn, can participate as much as they want, give them complete flexibility. But today, thankfully, with remote working becoming a reality, you can still stay connected with your organization, right? So I think that mindset has to change. And going on a break cannot mean getting completely disconnected. In today's world, that will not work. Go on a break by all means, but do not stop the learning journey.
Perfect. I think that really, really resonates, and we'll work towards it. I'm conscious of the time. There are two questions which I think a lot of people who are watching you today would want to know about you as a leader. So I think in your career over 2 decades and what you do now, what has been the highest point when you felt really good and fulfilled? And what is it about that highest point that made you feel that?
For me, every day has to be that highest point. As simple as that. Otherwise, what the hell am I doing? I mean, for me, every single day has to be, wow, made something happen today, right? And I'm very clear, when I don't get that in a job, that's when I change jobs.
Right.
So, there have been several high. There's no, I can't pick one point and say that was the highest point. And I hope I never reach that stage where there's just one point that I have to call out. I mean, there should be so many that you don't know which to call out. That's my goal. And thankfully, I'm in that place where there are so many. And it's every single day. For me, one big change was leaving the corporate world to join NASSCOM. And I would say that was the best career decision, professional growth decision I ever took. I mean, I've talked about how my whole career is about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's my entire journey summed up in 5 words. NASSCOM was so uncomfortable, and it still is, because there's so many problems that, that are completely new. So the ability to learn, the ability to make a difference, the ability to have an impact is all exponential in this job. So this is a huge high point for me. And within NASSCOM, there's so much good work we do. The launch of Future Skills was a big high point, starting the whole training, skilling initiative in India. The work my team did to keep the industry running during the pandemic, it's a huge high point. I'm just so proud of them that, we did not stop work even for a single day. And we did everything possible to ensure the business continued and our employees, our industry was safe. So, that's a huge high point. So there's so many, and I'm so blessed there are so many. I hope I'm never in that place where only one thing comes to mind.
That's really, really motivating. So thank you for sharing that. And I think the point about being comfortable with the uncomfortable, can be really daunting for a lot of people when you're faced with a not so comfortable situation. So just leading on from that, when you're faced with a tough situation, what is it that keeps you going?
See, if you're a woman today and you are a professional woman today, I think what we can take for sure, what we can be sure about, is that it is going to be an uncomfortable ride. It is. We have two options. One is to feel bad about it and play the victim card and say that life is not fair. And the other option is to say, I'm going to get through this. And I'm not just going to get through this, but I am going to beat this. I'm going to come out the winner in this journey, right? And that's been what has been that drilled into my head from childhood. That no matter what the challenge is, you have everything you need to overcome the challenge. Not just overcome the challenge, but come out of it stronger, right? So it's what it's sort of the fighter instinct and I think that's the best instinct we can build in our kids. It's no matter what, I can fight. I'm a fighter. I can fight, and that's what I've grown up with. So for me, I get very uncomfortable when things become comfortable, because then I know that something is wrong. Either I'm not growing or I'm not doing my best. I'm sleepwalking through this. So that's when I get really uncomfortable. But as long as things are uncomfortable, I'm very good, because I know this is what's going to force me or frankly inspire me to bring my best to the table, to the room. So yeah, for me, it's a mindset.
Right. And I can see that mindset has a significant positive impact, on things you do around you. So my last question is around what's the legacy you aspire to leave behind for us? Or what's the legacy you are focused on building?
There are several, right? To start with, I want to see many more women taking on the role of NASSCOM president going forward and representing the IT industry loud and proud. I want to see us reinvent, and this is something I'm just completely committed to and passionate about, which is reinventing the IT industry and reinventing the Indian IT industry with focus on trust. We want to be I want the world to say that Indian IT is the most trustworthy, or India is the most trustworthy destination for technology, right? I want the world to say that India has the best digital talent anywhere in the world, period. I want the world to say that India has the ability to solve the biggest problems with technology. Right? I want the world to say that India is the most resilient place for business. Right? So my dream, as I've said several times, is when the world thinks digital in this new context, the world has to think India. No other option should be given, right? So hopefully if we can get that done, or at least significantly move towards that goal, I would be a very happy person.
Fabulous. And I love the conviction in your voice. I mean, it really resonates.
We have all that it takes. We have all the pieces of the puzzle. We just have to put it together and we have to stay with it.
Fabulous. And I think in some way, it's been a real privilege for WiT to have you guide us. And we hope to do our own share of fulfilling that mission for you. I'm sure, with all that you've shared today, it's going to be of immense value to thousands of women who are watching you today. I can't thank you enough for your candor, as always. And of course, for ongoing support and being a mentor to the WiT platform. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. And I'm not sure what we would have done without you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Anu. You're very kind. And I'm a huge fan of the work you guys do. Keep it up. I mean, absolutely brilliant work. You're making a difference. Please keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was an inspiring conversation, wasn't it, people? Thank you, Debjani and Anu.